What's going on, fellas? Thanks for joining me on another episode of Ducks Gun Chronicles. Guys, I'm out here in the marsh. I'm out scouting some awesome new duck hunting locations, and I am putting the duck boat, and more importantly for today's video, the Swamp Runner 13 horse. So it's the mid-size on their kits. I'm putting that to the test, guys, and you know, we're gonna do the full review on it and show you guys kind of what it's got. And really, I'm gonna do kind of specific for what I feel like duck hunters need with a kit like this. Obviously, this kit is not top of the line. It's not a high dollar. It's at a low price point. So if you're wanting to get in pretty much as cheap as you can, then these mud runners are kind of right at that price point. So that's what I got on my boat. I bought mine used. The guy who used it before me barely had used it. Shout out to Max. He sold it to me on Facebook Marketplace, and you know, big fan of the channel and the podcast, and super cool guy. Hopefully we can connect up here in Michigan at some point on a hunt. But today I'm gonna get this thing buzzing around the marsh. We're at Last Light. I've been actually scouting multiple places a day. As you guys can see, we got the marsh right in front of us. So there'll be a few different categories we hit, but I'm gonna buzz around, give you guys the lowdown. Yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get buzzing this thing around. Alrighty, so first thing I really wanted to test on this was to get out there and kind of give it the shooting speed. So just from a start, just rev at the motor and let her eat. And man, I can tell you, going through the marsh, like, man, it feels like this little boat with that motor, it just rips. I mean, you feel like you're having a lot of fun going through it. You know, the next thing I did notice is when I got into the shallower water, obviously I'm still going, but you know, it was a little bit of a hard bottom. With a softer bottom, I think that the prop guard is going to slip in the mud and I'll still get that traction, but definitely slowed me down. Oop, almost hit that log in the back, didn't even notice. But on the turns, kind of through that harder bottom surface, it was sandy bottom. You know, it was harder to get that prop down. You definitely have to get the prop at the right depth, which seems to be just under the water line. And I know I've heard people say that you only need one prop on the tie style to really get it going, but for whatever reason, I don't know if I have too long of a shaft or what, I had to get the prop just under the water, and then man, I could just fly. Another point I'll make is that, man, it's super nice to be able to sit down in this boat and drive. I know with a lot of longtails and even surface drives, you kind of have to stand up and have a grip bar. But you know, this boat is super stable. I'm sitting there and just buzzing around. It's super comfortable. I will say it might have to change when I get into season and I need to see over the gear or whatever I have in front of me. But for now, riding around in the marsh, just myself, you know, I've done it with other people in front of me as well. It is not a trouble at all to sit there, and you know, way more comfortable, I guess, than standing up and having to brace yourself against every bump. Now I did get out there and get a speed for my top mile per hour. In the video, it looks like I'm really flying, but I can tell you by myself that I'm just hitting about mid-13s, and with somebody in there, it's a little bit lower. Alright, so the next test I really wanted to do was to get into some thick vegetation. Now for me, the top speed really isn't that important. I'm not going to be making long runs with this boat. I'm not really planning to take it on big water lot, but I am going to be going through marshy, thick vegetation that is pretty common in Indiana and Michigan and in the environments I go in. So I need to be able to get through all kinds of crap, all kinds of vegetation. You see right here, again, this comes to the hard bottom that was in this area, so I pretty much got it up on land. But once I was able to dig the prop through there and get her going, like I said, just get that prop under the water into the surface, and boom, you're just off to the races. So definitely was impressed with the ability to get through just all the vegetation that was out there. So gonna keep cruising and hitting up some of these same spots to get a pretty good feel for how this does through thick vegetation. All right, so this little section was pretty dry. Once I got up onto some of the thicker stuff, it was pretty much just no water. So that was some of the stuff I was running into, and you know, it was slow going through that. Again, it was all about getting that prop through there, and I was a little bit worried just going full speed that I'd get it pushed up somewhere and not be able to push it back out. But I really think that if I just would have gone for a little bit harder in some of these places, I wouldn't have got stuck on the places where vegetation or land was kind of coming up through the water. Because anywhere else, it was just like it was good. Like, you can see me churning up mud in the back, and that was all good. But anytime I got up onto these grass patches, they're just little grass patches, I'd kind of get stuck and have to do some slow going. So I really should have just sent it a little harder, and I think I would have done all right. But yeah, definitely can't just go across dry land, unfortunately. So I did end up getting stuck on this spot pretty good, you know, just trying to shift my weight around. I was more or less just on dry ground. I had dug a pretty good hole with a prop in the back and just wasn't able to move. So again, it was that same thing where I'm saying I just couldn't get the prop under the water because of how shallow it was. Just couldn't get it in the water. So, you know, mud motors really aren't made to go across just dry grass. You can't run them in your backyard. So it's not really a surprise I got stuck here. Again, it was just like a little patch, maybe 3 or 4 feet long. Maybe more like 10 feet long now that I'm thinking about it. But definitely if I would have just sent it, I probably would have got it. But going slow through this crap, you really got to be on plane and be moving to get through it. So kind of final verdict to give on the Swamp Runner. Really, I was super impressed with getting through the water there. I do feel like the 100-inch shaft is a little bit much for my narrow boat. Probably could go down to an 85, but since I bought it used, that's just what it came with. I might think about switching to that. Also, it had an 8-inch propeller on there. I really want to go with like an 8 3/4 inch weedless prop and see how that does. See if it gives me a little bit more speed, a little bit more high-end and low-end speed, which I'm hoping it does. But this one, just how it is, I mean, it's going to get me anywhere I want to go in these marshes, through cattails, through lily pads, through smartweed, through mud, through shallow water. It seems to do pretty good on everything. You know, the combination of the boat I got, the Duck Torpedo, and the Swamp Runner, I think we're going to be pretty good this year. That being said, I can barely contain my excitement. Barely can contain my excitement coming into this year and this season. It's going to be awesome, guys. We're going to get places we've never been, go further, have more fun, hopefully shoot more ducks. So stay tuned, guys. I'm Jordan, Ducks Gun Chronicles, and we'll see you guys on the next one.